Welcome to Let the Quran Speak. I'm Safiyyah, your host. I'm here with a special guest. His name is Maskwa David Alexanderson. He's a First Nations Cree, and he's also a Muslim. We're going to speak to him about his journey to Islam and how faith has transformed his life. Maskwa, welcome to Let the Quran Speak.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam. What an honor it is to have you here with us. We've been talking about this for a while, Maskwa. And I want to talk to you first about your early life and how you came to Islam. Tell us a little bit about, where you grew up and what your upbringing was like, what your youth was like.
So I grew up I was born in Musha.
Okay.
My mom is Cree. My father is Swedish.
Okay.
And I grew up basically with domestic violence, issues like that. Growing up with my mom, alcoholism, being born with a condition called FASD,
Okay.
fetal alcohol spectrum disorder.
Mm-hmm.
It is no fault of my mom. This is a direct result of colonialism, residential schools, basically being brought up in these schools and then thrown into the world without any motherhood, without any raising of your language, your culture. So she drank until I was, while she was pregnant with me. So I grew up with some difficulties in life in the beginning times, dealing with violence within my home, my father and my mom drinking. At 4, he would cause harm to my mom and put her in the hospital, and he would be arrested. We were then put into government care for a little while. Then after my mom got out of the hospital and stuff, we were then brought back to live with her for another 2 years.
On the reserve, right? That's where she lived?
No, it was in a place called Keeler, Saskatchewan, actually.
Okay.
So in Keeler, Saskatchewan, it's a small town outside of Moose Jaw. We lived there for a couple of years. My mom, unfortunately, couldn't manage to be the mom that she could have been.
Mm-hmm.
She would leave us for hours. I learned to take care of 2 kids on my own. My brother and sister, I learned how to make mac and cheese quite good. We lived in a very, very rough place. It was hard. And after a couple of years, we had a little store inside there, and they called Children's Services.
Mm-hmm.
And when they called Children's Services, my mom found out. She came from the city to try to stop it, but it was too late. And I was given a bag of onion chips, those like onion rings. And we were all separated. I would spend basically the next, till I was 16 years old, going through 57 different foster homes.
Oh, wow.
So I went through 57 different homes because someone with FASD, I was considered problematic with behavioral issues. They didn't know how to deal with someone like me. It was the early stages of FASD awareness, and many homes didn't know how to handle it. I did have some good homes towards the end of the end of foster care. I got into drugs early, and as I exited and ran away many times to go find my mom, I discovered alcoholism, drugs as a way to get through whatever trauma I went through the Saskatchewan social services and children's services there. I went through all 4 of abuses, from physical, emotional, verbal, sexual, by foster families. When I got out, when I was like 18, they gave a reasonable settlement to offset whatever pain I went through. And I started just discovering places. I traveled. I ended up, after my travels, in Vancouver,
Mm-hmm.
where I basically got into cocaine and heroin. Heroin I did not like. It was way too harsh. It was like, I almost died the first time ever trying it. But cocaine was, it was crack cocaine. Basically, I always see this person, and they're always doing it, and they're like, just try it once. I'm like, okay, what could hurt if I try it once? Well, let's just say $40,000 disappears real quick in about 4 months. It was an addiction that was really rough, but I'm glad about that addiction because I one day was in Vancouver, and I was in the back of an alleyway, and I saw this woman with all these scabs. It's from picking yourself. And I asked her, like, you look so horrible. Like, why do you do this? She said, I'm still trying to get the high that I got the first time. I said, oh, how old are you? I thought she was 40. She was 20 years old.
Wow.
Right? She was assaulted by her father. She ran away. She started getting into addiction from an early age. When I saw that, I was like, okay, I want to get out of here. I want to get out of Vancouver. I didn't have much money. A church, I said, like, oh, where do you live? I didn't want to go back to Saskatchewan. Still, we dealt with a lot of, even today, there's still a lot of Indigenous-based racism in the prairies. Back then, it was way worse. So I just said, oh, I'm from Toronto. So the church sent me on a plane to Toronto.
Really? Okay.
And the first thing I did was go look for drugs.
Mm-hmm.
I went to a place called
How old were you?
What?
How old were you?
Oh, I was 18.
Okay.
I went and looked for drugs at Moss Park. And the thing is, when drugs get to BC, they're very pure. By the time they get to Alberta, Saskatchewan, then Ontario, it's cut in so many ways
Mm-hmm.
to offset the cost of transporting it. It was horrible. I was like, oh, I'm never going to do this again, right? And I would basically get into alcohol more, start drinking more, start partying, started getting into ecstasy, getting into some more not so favorable drugs. And over time, I would end up in jail one time. And basically, that's kind of like where I first kind of got my introduction to seeing the Quran
Mm-hmm.
and its context. And I was curious about it.
Okay. Tell me about that experience.
So basically, I was in jail and I saw a copy of the Quran. I started reading it.
How'd you see a copy of Quran? Was it
Oh,
just
it was in the jail.
Okay.
So I just started reading it.
In your jail cell?
Yeah, in the jail cell.
Oh, okay.
And well, like the books, the libraries that come in the book, they bring it's like a
library cart.
A library cart.
Okay.
So I saw the Quran. I started reading it.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed one thing that aligned with Indigenous culture, which is the oneness of the Creator. The Creator is, this one being. I couldn't, in no disrespect to Christianity in any way, I couldn't aside myself to ever understand. I tried going to church, but I was also afraid of the church because of how they have with
the history of how they've dealt with
and two, I just couldn't associate myself of creating partners with God. It just didn't add up. Like, why would God create a God to kill the God and bring him back to life?
Mm-hmm.
It was very confusing to me. And again, no disrespect, but it was just, I couldn't understand it. When I asked questions, right? Oh, just believe is basically what I was told.
Mm-hmm.
So when I read the Quran, I was like, oh, wow, this is interesting, right? And that would basically be my first introduction into, I started reading it. I kept that for, was about 8 years. And I would later get introduced to some...
So it wasn't an individual, it was just a copy of the Quran?
Yeah, well, individuals would come later.
Okay.
A few years later. Yeah.
Did you meet any individuals in prison? Did you talk about the Quran with them?
No, it wasn't in prison.
Okay.
It was basically when I got out of jail. I was only in jail for a few days.
Mm-hmm.
I had basically got back onto the streets of Toronto, started going to the rave, started selling drugs to offset my drug addiction and my alcohol addiction.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went up from that to someone who distributes. And so the first people I met were some people from Somalia.
Okay.
And
who were Muslim.
Who were Muslim.
Okay.
But what made me in awe of them was the fact that I would go to like a Etobicoke and drop off some ecstasy, some drugs for them. And for example, when it came to like food, I'd say like, oh, do you want to meet at McDonald's? They're like, no, we have to go to this place. It has to be halal. And I'm like, what's halal? Right? Oh, the meat has to be slaughtered hand slaughtered, or has to be slaughtered by a Muslim. And I'm like, okay. And then they took me a couple times to the mosque. All right. They said, oh, no, we can't do anything. We can't do anything right now. We have to pray. And I found that unique. Like, here you are, drug dealers, people involved in prostitution, but they still care about their religion so much. And I remember asking one of the brothers one time, I said like, well, how can you be, I was told like Muslims don't drink, right? And later on, when it came to my conversion, that would come up. But he's like, oh, we all have our own issues with but we go in front of God by ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll go in front of God and be accountable for all the things I've done. But at least I can try to do good by my faith.
Mm-hmm.
And what I would later learn, sometimes people do things by the motion too. Like sometimes you'll meet Muslims who are, praying 5 times a day, but they don't feel it. They don't connect.
Mm-hmm.
And when you speak to them, you teach them some things like, how to connect, how to, get involved in education, learning about your deen, so that you're not just going into the motions.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So what happened next? Did you meet other people? How did you become a Muslim?
So basically what happened was, so in this meantime, I have osteoporosis.
Okay.
I've had it for most of my life. I also ended up in a motor vehicle accident. I lost some feelings from the knee here. This one here, this leg here, I could feel a little bit.
Okay.
And I was in a motorized wheelchair, and I had a son in 2002. But after I ended up, because of my mobility, by 2006, I was using a motorized wheelchair. It was advice of the doctors at the time, because my bones could break easily, stuff like that. And also not being able to feel the one leg, especially.
Mm-hmm.
So what had happened was I was living in Thunder Bay. And when I was living in Thunder Bay, I get my alcohol delivered. And at the time I was working. But so the one night we had a snowstorm, it was literally about this high of snow. And the good thing about Thunder Bay is in about 2 hours, no matter how high it is, it will be clear of the sidewalk and everything.
Okay.
So I went to go get your bus. And when I went to go get the bus, I was waiting for like over an hour. Back then, accessible buses weren't always working. It was like a new era of buses, you know? Finally, after like an hour and 15 minutes, a bus finally comes on. I start cursing the guy out, swearing at him. And there is a Muslim person there. And I started basically calling like Muhammad is this like, where's God and all this? Look at me, I'm suffering, thinking he's Saudi. And he corrected me and said he was from Afghanistan. What I found unique was that we just started talking for a minute. And I explained to him, like, I'm in a wheelchair. I'm battling addictions. I'm going through all my hardships. God doesn't care about me. He doesn't love me. And he's like, if you curse upon God, do you think he's going to answer? He's think about if you go into a store and you're trying to get a deal, but instead you curse them out about their pricing, and then they're going to look at you, and then you ask them for a deal, they're going to tell you to get out of the store. He said the same thing comes to Allah. If you ask of Allah, Allah will answer. If you curse him, he's not going to waste time with you. So he said, I encourage you to watch The Purpose of Life by Khalid Yassin. Back in the early days of YouTube were 3-minute clips. And I didn't know it was a 3-hour lecture. And so I had to click a 3-minute clip, then go look for the second clip. It was not, the playlists weren't a thing back then. I spent about 5 hours watching The Purpose of Life. At the end of it, I asked Allah, with all your mercy, help me. Now, did nothing happen? Of course not. But I went for my physiotherapy in the new year of 2008, and she was doing here and here, and I could feel down here more. And over time, over the next few weeks, I would learn to use a walker. And I'd walk. Did I become Muslim? No, absolutely not. I became a really bad alcoholic, a bad father. I leave my son. Now there was no restrictions for me to go into the bar, to go to the casino. It was basically, no accessibility warning. I could just go there, put my walker, pick it up, put it in there, go get. There were days and nights, but only by the grace of Allah, that I was alive. I'd wake up in my house. And wonder how I got home. And it was literally about after 3 months, I had these new neighbors. They called Children's Services on me.
Oh, they did?
Right? So
why did they call social services?
Because they noticed that I was disappearing and not coming home till late at night. They heard him crying when my son at the time, he was young.
Okay, so your son was
staying at home without supervision. And so they have reported CS. Once I heard about it, I got on a bus, ran to Toronto to hide. Back then, it was kind of stupid that you would take your number and then re-register it, because only a short few days later, I would get a call on the Friday. It's called May 5th. It was just a few days before, from Children's Service in Toronto, asking, are you Indigenous? Yes. We're going to have a Native Children's Aid come out on Monday to do an inspection. We need to talk with you. There's been concerns raised. So basically, on the Sunday, I planned to end my life.
Okay.
I had spent my whole life, basically, I went through all these homes. I knew the hardship that I went through, the abuse that I went through. I did not want to see my son go through that. I didn't want to have to fight and try to get him back, because I knew that the government was just going to take him like they took me away. So that's what I thought, right? So I made the commitment at 11 o'clock on the 4th of May to end my life. And as I'm about to take all these pills, because I was popping pills all the time, opiate pills and stuff, as I was about to do it, my son comes out. He says, I love you, Dad. I spiraled. I just kept drinking for the whole next hour. And I just started reflecting on my whole life, the racism I went through, all the hardships I went through, dealing with a condition that nobody understands. And at 12 o'clock, I just Googled convert to Islam. I had read a book I didn't bring up earlier. I read a book called Martin Ling on the Prophet Muhammad. It was a book I picked up one time, and I went to, we had passed by a mosque one time, and they were handing out books. And I read this book, and I believed the message. The key thing about the Prophet Muhammad that made me compelled to understand and believe that this man was a prophet of God was when he was given revelation, right? Did he run to everybody and say, I'm a prophet of God, follow me? No, he went to Khadijah, and he said, hold me. He was scared. He was petrified, and she said, who at most would deserve to receive revelation but you? You're an honest person.
Sorry, I'm getting really emotional.
That type of message, right, resonated with me for the next couple years. So at 12 o'clock, I'm sitting there looking convert to Islam. I see the center called Paradise Forever. And when I see the center, I'm calling for 5 minutes and nobody's answering. I'm like, okay, maybe it's not what it is. And then finally, after like the 5th time calling, this person named Muhammad have answers. I basically explained that I wanted to end my life. And he asked me what I believe in. I said, I believe God is one. Yes, I believe in the messenger. He said, okay, you're basically a Muslim. You should just take a shot. I go, I can't because I'm an alcoholic. Muslims don't drink, right? That's when I read everything that they don't drink, they don't do, even though I dealt with drug dealers in the past, but it wouldn't be, I always didn't want to be a hypocrite.
Mm-hmm.
Being Indigenous, everybody looks down upon us and are waiting to criticize us. I didn't want to be a hypocrite coming into Islam and be an alcoholic. And he said, well, there's hypocrites in every religion, right? But it doesn't mean your path with God is on your side. I don't want you to end your life. So I took my Shahada. At that moment, I spent my whole life, like whenever you look at a classroom at the end of the day, on the hallway of a classroom, and all the doors are locked. They lock all the doors. I don't know if they do it in 2026, but in my old time, all the doors are locked. I spent my whole life living that way, that all these doors are locked. There's no opportunities, nothing for me. In that moment of taking my Shahada, I became sober, and I felt like all those doors were opening up for me, right?
So how did you suddenly become sober?
I don't know. I just believe it's by Allah himself.
Mm-hmm.
And from that point,
So since you became a Muslim, you have never drank?
I've never drank.
How did it work? What was the process?
It wasn't easy. The first thing I did after I took my Shahada, I just dumped. I had like 25 beers left. I just dumped them all out. And I tried drinking one, and it was like it was something so vile. I could actually taste what it really was because it doesn't taste good.
Mm-hmm.
I could actually, and I just spit it out, and I just started dumping them all out after. It was just like it became like a poison to me because it is a poison. Alcohol is a poisoning, and so the transition wasn't easy. I would talk with Muhammad the following day. He advised me that it wouldn't be good for me to live basically around bars, right? It wouldn't be a good idea. He helped me get an apartment. I immediately moved. He came down the one day to help me move, and he saw these 4 cases of beer. It's 100 beer. He's like, he looked at my neighbor. He goes, "You having a party?" He's like, "No, that's just Dave's 2 days of drinking." He's like, "This? He drinks 40 beers a day."
Mm-hmm.
He's like, he was shocked. He was in awe, like he couldn't believe it. And what happened was we moved to Scarborough. I moved right near to Islamic Foundation in Canada. My son was just starting school, preschool, in Etobicoke, and I didn't want to move him from there. It was a good school. So at the time, I was still using Wheel-Tran because I had some physical limitations. I took the Wheel-Tran from Scarborough every morning at 7 a.m, dropped him off at 8, came all the way back at 9 to Islamic Foundation. The first day I went there, I was puking my guts out, and I met an older man. His name's Abdullah. And he basically just came, he started talking with me, and he was reciting Quran right from the beginning all the way to about halfway over the next 40 days.
Did he understand what was going on with you?
I believe he did because I explained to him like I was just battling the sickness, and he would just come down, help me clean my puke and all that stuff. I would just basically go back and forth dealing with vomiting, diarrhea over the next 40 days. And just to put it in a picture, you talk to any medical professional, a habitual alcoholic with a 40% functioning liver, they usually need to do a detox. Like,
yes,
phase
that's
you
what I'm
out.
thinking.
I went cold turkey,
Mm-hmm.
and over the next 40 days and nights, it was hard. It was puking. It was just a lot of dhikr. I learned dhikr real quick. Subhanallah, alhamdulillah, la ilaha illallah. Doing that probably about, I'm not joking, at least 5,000 to 6,000 times a day,
Mm-hmm.
just to keep my sanity because I was just battling this. And I got a call on the 50th day that he had passed. And so we didn't finish the one part. I forget what I was. I went under the tree that's outside his own foundation. I read the last page, and a leaf fell. I put it there, closed it, went to his funeral, and I stayed sober. And I believe the key was the power of prayer, the power of remembrance of Allah, but the most power is the power of prayer. Because
so, do you mean this practically, or do you mean just the thought of prayer? Like, how does it work? How does prayer keep you from drinking?
Part of the thing was during that 40 days, when I would go to drop off my son, sometimes I'd have to go do some business in a medical center that is it's called Lamp Community Center. And there's a woman there. Her name is Debbie Bridge. She basically was with me when I went through all this stuff. And I would go visit her, talk to her. She was my counselor. I'd come out and there's a bar just on the street. I'd be like, oh, I would like to drink. Okay, I'll come back. I'm going to go pray. So I went, it was a mosque not too far from there. And then by the time that came, I was like, oh, I have to go pick up my son. So let me see what I'm going to do that one day. Then I went and prayed Duhur. I stayed in the mosque of Duhur. They went and picked up my son and took a thing, went all the way back to Asr. I said, okay, I'll drink after Maghrib. By the time Maghrib came, right, I basically was like, oh, well, I might as well wait till after Isha. By the time Isha came, basically I was like too tired and I wasn't really thinking about it. And after many days of salah and prayer and remembrance and dhikr, I realized that was the weapon that protected me, because over the next few years, the one thing I learned to always identify myself, I'm an alcoholic.
Mm-hmm.
I will always be an alcoholic. And I take every day as a new day,
Mm-hmm.
right? When I wake up every day for the last almost 19 years, May 5th will be 19 years, I thank Allah. I say, Allah, this is a new day. I will not drink today. I've been doing that every single day since I converted.
Mm-hmm.
Because the problem you have, and I've counseled many people, I've brought many, many people into Islam,
Okay.
is people, I tell them this, don't ever take for granted. Many people go around with addiction and they say, oh, I've been sober for 6 months, I've been sober 3 months, right? And they think that's by willpower alone they're going to be sober. Well, I'm sorry, the devil is real. Shaitan is real. He's going to test you.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to see your limits. He's going to see. But if you are coming to Allah every day saying, Allah, I'm not going to drink today, you're immediately coming to the face of Allah and saying, Allah, I am not going to drink today.
Mm-hmm.
You're submitting to Him first every morning. You're holding yourself accountable. And I'm proud of the fact that, yes, I have seen, just over 3,225 people into Islam, and I've dealt with many people addicted, and I haven't been able to find someone like me yet who was able to stay completely sober. It is very, very hard.
And yet you've managed.
I've managed.
So tell me a little bit about how Islam has changed your life besides the alcoholism.
When I first converted to Islam, I did public speaking on fetal alcohol spectrum disorder.
Okay.
I just realized the power of the religion, the message, especially Martin Ling's book.
I love that book, by the way.
Myself. Later, a key role in my dawah would be the Being Muslim book by Asad Tassim.
Okay.
So these books I learned in my early days. The problem when you convert to Islam, especially if you're unique, like an indigenous, people want you. I had many Muslim organizations. I went downtown, I did dawah, I met many organizations over the next 3 to 4 years, did a lot of speaking. And the one issue I had, though, is that with one organization, they understand the religion in their own aspect, in their own way.
Yes.
So it was like the journey of many Muslims. Like when I first converted, I went to Abu Hurairah Center and they gave me a bunch of books and they said, this is the deen. I said, no, but I have these books from Islamic Foundation. They're like, oh no, these books are not correct. These are the right books. And then you go to another mosque, they say, oh no, those 2 books are not right. These are the right books.
Mm-hmm.
It was very confusing.
Yes.
And the one issue I had when doing dawah with different organizations, they have their own set and their own understanding of the religion, which is right. But what happens when someone comes to you that's wanting to be Shia, wanting to maybe he's been learning Islam through Sufism,
Mm-hmm.
right? These are all acceptable branches within Islam, right? So I started Dawah to the North. And
Okay.
Dawah to the North, I ran it for 12 years
Mm-hmm.
until I started working with Justice for All. And for 12 years, it was just a group of us. A friend of mine named Ibrahim in Calgary, a friend of mine named Khadija in Winnipeg. And we just ran, it's on Facebook, you can still see it on Facebook. We're almost 10,000 followers. I basically started answering questions. I started doing, was back in the early days of what's it called, Skype Lives and Pal Talk Lives, answering people questions, making some videos, doing public speaking. And I found the most unique thing was whenever I spoke about my conversion, I would get anybody from age 13 to 75 come to me after. Can I get your phone number? And I would give my phone number.
Mm-hmm.
Then they would call me or message me later and say, I'm battling heroin, I'm battling drugs, I'm battling this, I'm battling this. How can I get away from this? The first question I ask them is, how's your salah? Oh, I'm not really praying. That's the key. If you're not in constant remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of course, Shaitan's got a free party. He's got a free picnic for you,
Mm-hmm.
Because he can basically expose you to whatever you're going through, right? And let you deal with it on your own terms. But when you come back to Allah, there's a reason why we have 5 pillars in Islam, because these are the foundations of who we are.
Mm-hmm.
Our charity, our Hajj. Mainly, the most important thing is our salah.
Mm-hmm.
So I would just counsel people, give them advice. Every Ramadan, I get, like this last Ramadan, I had just over 180 calls.
Mm-hmm.
I don't sleep in Ramadan usually. Around Easter, I don't sleep. Around Christmas, I don't sleep.
Mm-hmm. And these are Muslims calling you?
Mostly, yeah, these are reverts mostly. And there are some good organizations out there, like Revert Connect. It's an amazing organization. They're a new organization. They just opened up in, what's it called, Parkdale. We need more of these type of organizations. They do Islamic classes and stuff like that. They have a WhatsApp support group for reverts. These are things that are needed.
So, Maskwa, what's your advice for somebody who might feel that they're too broken, they're too messed up, their life is too, disheveled, and they cannot turn back to God?
God never said that, first of all. And that's the problem. Shaitan will weaken a person to the point where they can't even look at their deen. The thing is the power of salah. Unfortunately, sometimes our community is the biggest failure.
Yes.
You have a halakha, but everybody goes their own way. People that speak Urdu go one way. People that speak another language go this way. When I'm a revert, even today, 19 years later, I feel like I'm still aside. But the most important role is having your connection to Allah. Our connection to Allah, the difference that made me convert, made me understand, was I have my own journey with Allah. On my day of judgment, they're going to weigh all my good and my bad deeds. I hope all my good deeds outweigh my bad, because I'm not perfect.
We all hope so.
Right? So we go on a journey to Allah on our own. And sometimes, even in the Islamic community, in the Muslim community, we tend to go by our community, and just go with the flow. It's getting yourself back to God, starting with one prayer. I don't know what it is with the imams. They keep telling people, you need to get back on your 5 days salah. Well, no, people aren't that quick. You need to encourage them just to get on. Anybody that's struggling, all you need to do is just to pray. If you're battling addiction, alcohol, sex addiction, whatever you're dealing with, is you take 3 hours before and 3 hours after. You don't do anything but pray, do dhikr. You start with your duhur. And then work the following week on your duhur and asr. And then when you're ready, go to maghrib, then go to isha. Within 4 to 5 weeks, you should be doing fine. Because everybody that I've ever counseled, by the time I get to 4 weeks, they've been sober for a week or 2 weeks. We're going to all make mistakes someday.
Yes.
Right? But the key is keeping our connection to Allah. That's why He prescribed us to have 5 daily salah. Because for me, I found in my journey, that's what kept me away from alcohol and drugs, is that power of connection to God. And it's just in itself, that is the key, in my opinion.
Tell me about, Maskwa, how your Indigenous identity and your Muslim identity work together. And I see that you're wearing. Tell me about what you're wearing as well.
This is just I saw this one time, and to me the symbol is Maskwa. That is black bear.
Yes, Maskwa means black bear, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is also the medicine wheel, which is the core foundation of Indigenous teaching. It makes me feel my connection as an Indigenous person. One thing I found that was unique when I first converted to Islam, I thought, oh, I'm free. I don't have to, but in reality hits you too. When you dress as a Muslim, right? My belief, and I raise my kids on this, that I wear a jalabiyah, I wear, a kufi when I'm mostly out, is I should always identify myself as a Muslim. And I found that when I converted, I had people call me beeping terrorist, spit on me when I do dawah. I've had all kinds of things. When I take this off, I get followed at Walmart. They're worried about I'm going to steal. What I found that was unique between the two was, one, environmental. Muslims believe that we should be stewards of our earth. What is Indigenous belief? We are stewards of our earth. We should be respectful on our water intake, our food intake that we eat, right? That was a key to me as being an activist, an Indigenous activist before Islam, that I found that Muslims also care about the environment.
Yes.
Every action you go is weighed in front of Allah. So I found that very unique. And the second was the closeness of brotherhood when it works. It's the same thing with Indigenous culture. When it works, it's very close-knit, everybody is supporting each other. And that's why I like organizations that support reverts, especially because it is hard being a revert.
Yes.
Because even 19 years later, I'm still the person outside the box in the mosque. I remember in Ramadan, and this is just this last Ramadan, I was sitting there in this mosque with all my friends. These are friends of mine. And then after, they're like, oh, let's go out and get something to eat after night prayers, right? And they're like, oh, where do you guys want to go, everybody? And everybody's planning their car. I'm just sitting there, right? And my son's with me, and then they're like, take care, brother. Salam alaikum. I'm like, oh, that's not the first. It happened like 100 times in my Islamic journey. That's why I learned that my most important connection is with Allah. But me and my son can just go out. Sometimes I'll send a message to a revert, invite him to come out. Hey, what are you doing right now? It can be hard. especially for reverts.
Mhm.
Like the statistics are real out there that like a good majority within 5 years leave Islam,
Mhm.
right? And most people that I've talked to that have left, it's because of sometimes our own faults as a
Yes.
community.
Yes. Yes, I'm sorry you had to experience that. Maskwa, I'm just wondering, curious, have you ever reconnected with your mother again?
Of course.
Okay.
Me and my mom, we have a very beautiful relationship.
Amazing.
You know, she's Christian.
Mhm.
She's one of the only people that were kind of really accepted me. My uncles have an issue with me. Some of them are doctorated into Christianity, you know, and that's their choice, though. That is their choice. So no, me and my mom, we have a very good relationship. We were able to reconnect. I'm proud of her. She got off drugs many years ago. I'm so proud and honored to have her as my mom. She went through her own addiction and her own struggle, and I was there for her and supported her to get off her addiction. She's been sober many years now.
Maskwa, thank you for sharing your story with me. I'm getting emotional as I speak because you've had a very difficult life and you've managed to, pave your way out of that.
Alhamdulillah, it's a blessing to be here. This is one of the first shows. Like I remember when you guys were still on network TV. I
Yes.
forget what station it was.
Yes TV and Vision TV.
Yeah, Vision TV.
Mm-hmm.
So I used to look forward to them when they would post it when they would have it on every week, and I found it a way to connect back to God too. Listening to what you guys do here is amazing. It gets out even to non-Muslims. I share it with other people who are not Muslim. They still watch it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Maskwa. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you and illuminate your path forward as He has always done.
Homie.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Muslim Media Hub, the new home of Let the Quran Speak.
Here we spread positivity and good. We help people experience the beauty of Islam and help them appreciate and understand Muslims.
This beautiful building we purchased at cost $2.3 million.
Yeah, we've already raised a third of that money, and with your help, inshallah, we can pay off the rest.
So we're looking for people who can give $1,000 each. If you can be part of the select group, that's amazing.
Otherwise, just please give whatever you can. Every dollar counts.
It's our collective responsibility to share the message of Islam with our fellow human beings. Please help us continue this good work.
It's a sadaqah jariyah, something that will continue to be a benefit to the Muslim community long after Safiyyah and I are gone.
Please support our work at muslimmediahub.com.
Your support is zakat eligible and tax deductible.
May Allah bless you and your loved ones today and always. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.